y'all. It's Alternative Voice yet again. I figured I would discuss counterinsurgency with y'all and why it fails. See, before World War II, there were numerous cases of successful empires. Rome, uh, the Macedonian Empire under Alexander the Great, the Mongol Empire. Now, and the British and the colonial empires like the British Empire, the Dutch Empire, French Empire, Spanish Empire, and even the Russian Empire. The list goes on and on and on. But it succeeded before that. But the question is, why does it fail post World War II so consistently? Now, if we look at the way counterinsurgencies have been conducted since World War II, people will criticize, modern military interventions as colonialism and all that stuff. That's not what's going on, not at all. Because it's like, the whole idea of building, nation building was done very successfully post World War II. And since then, we've tried to repeat that success with pretty bad results. In Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq was a Pyrrhic victory at best. Now, that being said, is if you look at these countries, particularly Afghanistan, which has driven back the British Empire twice, the Soviet Union, and most recently the United States. They are a tribal society, and which is why I say that instead of trying to build a whole new government, we should have just given it over to the Northern Alliance. I would rather fight alongside Khaled Abdul Dostum any day than I would that cowardly and last president of Afghanistan, Ghani. He who ran out of the country like a little bitch with, all of that money. I mean, he had to literally throw some of it off because it was too heavy. But that being said, is these tribes and ethnic groups often hate each other and won't fight alongside each other in combat. The team is divided. So quite naturally, because they won't be a team, the age-old saying, united we stand, divided we fall, comes home to roost. And when armies like that go into combat, they lose. And it's another thing is it's like when I say it's not colonization anymore, it's like, how many you could convince a lot of people from Europe to go to the New World, go to Africa, go to Asia, wherever. But could you convince a whole bunch of Americans to move to Iraq, Afghanistan, or Vietnam? I don't think so. Just like you wouldn't have seen a bunch of Soviets lining up to move to Afghanistan. And back in when there was French were dealing with Algeria and Vietnam, it was like, how many Frenchies could you convince to move there? I don't think you'd find very many takers on the streets of Paris, But that being said, is that brings us to another point. The insurgents live there, and unless their adversary is going full on war, full on genocidal against them, like the Nazis, the communists, certain communist regimes such as the Soviet Union under Stalin, or China under Mao Zedong. Unless they're doing that, they don't really have to win militarily. They just have to not lose, and that has worked out pretty consistently, i.e. Vietnam, Afghan, and against the French and the Americans, and later on the Chinese, as well as Afghanistan against the Soviets and later the Americans. But that being said, that brings us to another issue: money. Counterinsurgency is just really, really expensive, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. Do you know how much it takes to equip a single USGI? No, I'm not even talking about spec ops guys. I'm talking about just your average grunt. About $17,000. How many Taliban could you equip with that? Huh? I mean, think about it. If you want to go in, if you do want to go into spec ops, their kits can be anywhere from $50 to $100,000, and the Taliban needs what, 1,000 to equip, if that. You see my point. And an IED can take out a very inexpensive IED can take out a multi-million-dollar machine. So counterinsurgency is not economically feasible. And plus, a lot of times, like the whole idea of going in with good intentions, setting up a democracy and all that crap, it's like a lot of people can't fathom why, you know, anybody would want that, would want the Taliban over that. But the reality is that the Taliban were, although very brutal, could actually, at least perception-wise, get things done. The with the Afghani government before the fall of Afghanistan in 2021, it was just corrupt. It was basically just a bunch of mobsters trying to gobble up whatever they could. And they would lie, they would cheat, and kill to obtain their ends. And they didn't trust each other either, because they knew how corrupt it was. It was one of the most corrupt countries on earth. That being said, and a lot of people just decide, hey, we don't want to live under religious nutcases, but we'd rather have that than this corrupt government that the Americans are trying to set up. And so, yeah, economically, insurgencies are sustainable. Professional militaries are not. And it's like, there's just so much shit going on right now. And like in the Kashmir, India, and Pakistan, it's just been going on for 34 years, for crying out loud. And it's not showing any sign of slowing down. But the reality is that what I think, how I'm going to conclude this video is saying this: we need a new strategy. I mean, after the takeover of Afghanistan in 2001, we never should have tried to build a puppet government. We should have just given the damn country to the Northern Alliance. They could go toe-to-toe with the Taliban, and they had been doing so for years, but the Afghan National Army fell like a house of cards. I think we should take note to that, people. That being said, speaking of that, we need to stop this whole nation building crap, people. What we need to do is, if we're attacked, we need to go and do a punitive expedition. Sure, we can't wipe every single Al-Qaeda or Taliban off the earth, but we can destroy their infrastructure to the point where they won't be able to do anything of meaning for years. That should be the primary objective, Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Be good, y'all. Peace.